How can you learn to overcome shyness and social anxiety and be able to talk to anyone? Hey everyone, I'm Harris O'Malley from DrNerdLove.com. This week, we're going to talk about building up your social skills. If you're a regular here at Paging Dr. Nerdlove, then you know I'm a big believer in face-to-face communication. Don't get me wrong, I love texting. And as we live more and more of our lives online, we do more and more of our communication via text. And it is brilliant. You have time to think about what you're going to say. You can proofread what you're going to send a few times to make sure you don't say anything stupid. But the fact of the matter is, we are humans, and we have human brains, and those brains were designed for communicating face-to-face. And that's great. Except it can also be terrifying. And for a lot of people, there are few things that are more likely to get you covered in fear sweat than recognizing that you're in a situation where you're going to have to talk with someone in person, with your mouth. You may be brilliant when it comes to communicating with your thumbs. You may be the Moliere of messaging, the Oscar Wilde of WhatsApp. But as soon as you're in a position where you have to stare someone in the face while you're talking with them, your brilliance drains away and you're left at the functional level of, how do I make the words go? This is not a judgment on anyone who has this problem. This is something that I have gone through, and straight talk, I still deal with it even now. And I know a lot of you have the same issue. You want to communicate, you want to connect, you want to be social, but the anxiety that comes up with the idea of talking with someone in person is so intense and so powerful that you just can't. Gentlemen, when we talk about things like approach anxiety, we tend to frame it under the idea of, all right, it is time to go over and talk to that cutie over by the bar. But this anxiety manifests in far more scenarios than just trying to force yourself to go flirt with a stranger. This can happen at any time when you're trying to be social, regardless of the gender of the other people involved, regardless of whether you're attracted to them or not. You may be hanging out after class on campus, or you may be at a party. You may be at a new job where you don't know anybody, or you may be at a networking event where you're trying to make new connections and build those relationships that can improve your career. When you're dealing with social anxiety, the fear isn't just, oh no, I'm gonna get rejected. It's, I don't know how to start this conversation. Or, they're obviously busy, and I don't want to go over there and interrupt them and make them feel like they have to talk to me. Or it'll be, I'm gonna end up saying something weird, and they're gonna judge me and not like me. Or, I'm gonna run out of things to say, and then we're just gonna be standing there, staring at each other, and it's gonna get awkward and uncomfortable, and I'm gonna have to leave. Or, it may be, they don't want to actually talk with me, they're just putting up with me out of pity. Once these thoughts get into your head, they thrash about like weasels with paint thinner on the nipples. And once these brain weasels get going, they just start to gnaw on every thought you have until that is the only thing that you can think about. And now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you have convinced yourself that no matter what happens, you're going to be awkward, and now when you're trying to talk with someone, that's literally all that you can think about. So, short of scooping out the afflicted part of your brain with a melon baller or applying liberal and ill-advised amounts of liquid courage, how can you get these brain weasels to settle down, to calm your anxieties, and be able to actually talk with people? This is stuff that even now I still deal with, so I am going to share with you my 5 tips that I use to help really calm down my anxiety. It works for me, and it's going to work for you. Tip number 1, you're going to force yourself to calm down. Part of the reason why social anxiety can be such a damn nightmare is the way that it feels like it can go from just being a little nervous to a full-blown panic attack in no time flat. Gentlemen, here's the secret about anxiety. It's fake fear. Don't get me wrong, the fear that you're feeling is real, and it's understandable. Humans are pack animals. We survive because we live in societies, and back in the days when we lived in tiny tribes in the Serengeti, getting rejected, getting ostracized, meant that you were gonna die. But that doesn't happen anymore. Your brain hasn't evolved to get that message yet. So, when you're worried about these things, your heart starts pounding, and your brain starts going 1,000 miles an hour, and your adrenaline is surging, and you feel like you're gonna have a heart attack. When we get rejected, yeah, it's painful. You feel like you want to die, but you're not in actual danger. So, what you want to do is force yourself to calm down by creating a biofeedback loop between your brain and your body. And you're going to do this by controlling your breathing and controlling your body language. I've talked about this before in previous episodes, but the technique is pretty simple. What you're going to do is you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose, you're going to hold it for the count of 5, and then you're going to breathe out slowly through your mouth. And while you're doing this, you're going to just let your muscles relax, let the tension drain out of them, and you're going to open up your body language. You're going to uncross your arms, you're going to straighten your back, you're going to take up a little bit more space, and you're going to widen out a little bit. Breathe in, hold it, breathe out, relax, and open. Do this several times. What this does is your deep breaths are forcing more oxygen into your blood, and as you're doing this, you are also making your heart slow down. Part of the reason why panic attacks are so scary is because racing heartbeat is one of the physical symptoms of fear. But you can't be panicked or scared when your heart rate is slow, so you're going to force your heart rate to slow down. While you're doing this, by relaxing your muscles, by opening up your body language, you're telling your brain, hey, look at how my body is. I am clearly feeling more secure and more safe. And your brain says, you're right. You are feeling more safe. You are faking it until you make it. This makes you feel more confident, it slows your heart rate, and it calms the anxiety down. Tip number 2, you're going to slow your roll. Anxiety makes your brain race and focus on 1,000 different things. Part of the reason why you run out of things to say, or you trip up over your words, or you suddenly realize you've said something stupid is because you have been trying to pay attention to 15 separate things at the same time, and you just don't have the bandwidth for it. It's like your brain is opening too many tabs in a web browser, and all of a sudden they're all auto-playing music and video, and you don't know where all the noise is coming from, and there's too much stimulation, and you can't close down the right tabs to get it all to go away, and then suddenly your brain is out of functioning RAM, and so it freezes, and now you need a hard reboot. In practice, this is because you're too in your own head. You're trying to split your attention between a dozen things at once. What are you going to say next? What did they just say? What signals are they giving? Are you sure you're picking up the right signals? How are they receiving what you're saying? And because you can't process all of this at once, you kind of go into panic mode. This all happens because of a classic mistake that so many of us make when it comes to meeting people. We feel like in order to make people like us, we have to be impressive, or we have to be clever, or we have to be charming, and we really don't. That's not why we decide we like people. When we want people to like us, the best thing that we can do is to focus on connecting with them. When we stop trying to impress people and we just start being in the moment and focusing on the other person, then all of that stress goes away because now you're not trying to perform for them. You're being real and you're giving them your attention. That's when we find those moments where we're able to really connect with someone. So, instead of worrying about whatever it is you're going to say next and having the perfect line or coming back with the quickest, funniest quip, just focus on listening to them. When you're listening to someone, instead of trying to think about whatever it is you're going to say next, you're showing them that you respect them, that you're considerate, that you value what they have to say and what they think, and you want to give them the benefit of your full attention. When you take a moment to think about what you're going to say next, you don't sound like you're stupid, you don't look like you're having a hard time thinking of anything. You look like you're giving what they had to say real consideration. Nobody does that. Plus, it also means you're less likely to say something stupid because you misunderstood what they said or because you let your mouth run ahead of your brain. Tip number 3. You are going to stop being the center of the universe. Funny thing about anxiety, not only is it fake fear, but it is incredibly egocentric. The reason why that anxiety hits us so badly is because we are convinced that other people are looking at us with Terminator vision, and they are picking up on all these things that we're already hyper aware of, and they're analyzing them, and they're judging us. That little fleck of spit that flew out of your mouth while you were talking, they totally noticed that. The way that you had to swallow before you started talking, oh, they picked up on that. The way that you stumbled over your words and you nearly said something awkward, they totally got that, and they know what you were going to say, and now they're judging you for it. Except, surprise, they totally didn't. Funny thing, everybody's too caught up in their own drama to give too much of a crap about yours. Just as you've got 5 dozen things going on all at the same time in your brain, so do they. That weird thing that you were convinced that nobody could possibly miss? Well, first of all, yeah, they missed it. But even if they didn't, if they even noticed it at all, any consideration they give it is going to be rated well below the fact that, that pad thai they had at lunch isn't sitting the way that it should. People miss even the glaringly obvious because they're concentrating on other things. Do yourself a favor, Google the term the invisible gorilla and realize how little we actually notice. Tip number 4, you are going to be okay with being imperfect. Another common mistake that we make when it comes to social skills is that we feel like we have to be smooth and suave and get everything exactly right. And that's great if you're a fictional character. It's easy to look like a social master when you've got a script, editing software, and a laugh track. Hell, the only reason why anything in these videos goes smoothly at all is because I've got the opportunity to go back and cut out all the crap that didn't work. It took me 5 takes to get that right. But when even the most awkward characters on Big Bang Theory or How I Met Your Mother never get a word wrong, never stutter, never have a brain fart and forget the word aquarium so they call it fish window instead, it's really easy to feel like that's how we're supposed to be. And it's not. And no, weird little screw-ups aren't gonna make people judge you, because honestly, they've all gone through it too, and they've had the exact same experiences. So as a whole, we all tend to be pretty forgiving when someone says something wrong. We've all had those moments where we've been on autopilot and said, "You too," when the guy at the snack bar told us to enjoy our movie, or we accidentally called someone by the wrong name. And you know what? I'm about to share one of my stories. I know you've got stories. Let's talk about them. Let's share it. Let's laugh at it. So share yours in the comments below. But here's the thing. When you do screw up, you can recover from it really easily because honestly, people are going to take their cue about how to react from how you behave. So, true story. This happened to me back in the early days when I was in the pickup scene. There was a night when I was at a bar, and there were these 2 amazingly hot women that I was dying to approach. And so as I go over to them, I'm getting ready to talk, and then I choke. That's not a metaphor. I literally aspirated on my own spit. But instead of doing what I wanted to do, which was to perform an abrupt about-face, leave the bar, change my name, get plastic surgery, move to another town, and live under an assumed identity, what I forced myself to do was to pause, go, okay, hold on, I'm gonna try that again. Turn around, walked away, turned right back, walked back to him, and introduced myself, and then said, "Did that go better? I think that went better. Did that go better for you?" It worked, they laughed, I got a number, and I got a date that weekend. Why? Because I was willing to play it off. I was willing to say, okay, yeah, that was weird, but you know what? Who cares? It was funny. People have awkward moments sometimes. It happens. Be willing to acknowledge it, laugh about it, move on. Finally, tip number 5. You're going to practice being social. One of the reasons why these brain weasels manage to get into our heads and start chowing down is because we increasingly isolate ourselves. As we live more of our lives online, we do more and more of our communicating from behind screens rather than in person. And so, when we get to a point where that's most of our human interaction and we only actually connect with people in person, maybe once a week if we're lucky, and maybe with only like 2 or 3 people, then all of a sudden, in the times when we have to do it, we feel like, oh shit, I haven't done this in so long, I'm rusty, and now it counts for everything. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Because we have those in-person interactions so rarely, now it is monumentally important that we don't fuck it up. But when you get used to making really simple contact with people, Nothing terribly complex. You're not going to sit down with a stranger and ask them for their life story, but just a couple of words here and there. It gets so much easier, and you have all of these opportunities during your day to have these low-impact practice sessions with people. Think of it like a social warm-up. You're not having long, elaborate conversations, but you can give more than just your customary grunt when your barista asks you how your day is going. You don't have to tell them, hey, I've been having a fight with the guy 3 cubicles down from me, and now I'm worried that he's making up shit to the HR so that I'm going to get fired. But you can say something along the lines of, I'm just counting down the minutes until Friday, or I pulled an all-nighter last night, so I just need enough coffee to keep me caffeinated until I can vibrate into the Speed Force. That's all it takes, and your day is full of all of these opportunities for a little low-impact socialization practice. Use an observational opener when you're just standing around in line waiting for the cashier at the grocery store. Pretend to be a tourist in your own town. Ask a stranger for a recommendation for a good Ethiopian restaurant. Hell, even just the commute, with the guy on the subway or the bus with you is a way of just limbering up those social muscles and making it so every time you have to have a real conversation, you don't feel like it's your all or nothing moment. And one last thing, go easy on yourself. The worst part about having social anxieties isn't the fear, it isn't the awkwardness, it's the part where you tell yourself that you're clearly an idiot because you have these problems, and you look around, everybody else has got their shit together. But here's the thing, they really don't, and it's not just that they hide it better, it's that they've got their own struggles, you're just not seeing them. Everybody wrestles with their own weirdness and with their own brain weasels. It's just that some people have slightly more practice with dealing with it. Remember, social skills are skills. And any skill can be improved with practice. You can get better at being social. You can get control of your social anxiety. Take a deep breath, let it out. You got this. Hey, thanks for checking out the latest video. So, I know a lot of you really prefer texting and DMing, and I'm actually working on a video about texting. So if you have any questions or concerns you would love to see specifically brought up during that, be sure to let me know. Share it in the comments below. And if you have a short dating question in general or another topic you'd like to see me cover on here, hit me up, share it in the comments, or send it to me at doc@drnerdlove.com with "for YouTube" in the subject. And hey, as long as we're talking about building social skills, this would be a great time to check out my book, New Game Plus, A Geek's Guide to Love, Sex, and Dating. This is the instruction manual to relationships and dating that we all wish we had gotten. It is all about building those social skills with a particular eye towards flirting, towards dating, towards meeting the most amazing people who are gonna be really into you. It's an awesome book. I think you should check it out. Links to buy it are in the show notes below. And if you do check it out, be sure to leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads. That is a big help for any author. If you're enjoying the video, then you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know. Be sure to share it with all of your friends, Facebook, Instagram, social media, wherever you are. If you are really enjoying the series, if you're finding that it's helping and you're getting a lot out of it, then maybe consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron at patreon.com/drnerdlove. Even $1 is a huge, huge help. Meanwhile, you can find me on Twitter at Dr. Nerdlove. You can join the Facebook page at facebook.com/you guessed it, Dr. Nerdlove. And as always, hit that logo to subscribe. Check out my other videos, and I will be back with you next time with more about love, sex, and dating. Later.